you located?
I'm in Bellevue.
You're in Bellevue. Okay, what are you seeing out there in the market? Love hearing that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely shifting a little bit. I mean, I think like the really hot areas, of course, are still busy. I mean, you got multiple offers, the review date stuff's working great, but I've definitely seen a few properties, maybe a little bit further out, whether it's north, south, whatever it is, where like offer review will come and go and no offers. But then like the next day they get like 3 offers. And I think, in talking to some of our buyers, I think a little bit they're just burned out. I mean, I'm sure you guys are facing that too, right? And they're like, you know what? I want to make an offer, but I don't know if the heart can take another offer review, holding my breath, and then I lose it again. So I think, some buyers are saying, hey, if it's still there after the review, I'm going to make an offer. And ironically, it's still coming in. It's still escalating a little bit. It's just they feel like they have a better chance. So I know a couple of our agents have, in certain properties said maybe we don't do an offer review. Now, I think the hot properties, they definitely still are, but that's probably the biggest shift we're seeing is just a little bit lighter. I had one contingent offer accepted, again, a little more remote property, but, a couple months ago, you'd be laughed away if you made a contingent offer. So, definitely a little bit of a shift. And I'm trying to tell our buyers to say, hey, no one loves that rates went up, but there's a silver lining. It's just a little bit softer, not crazy, but just a little bit softer. And if anything, now is definitely the time to stay focused. So.
Absolutely. Cool.
I'll let you guys similar up there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's some things that are sitting, again, it's just price point geared, I'd say, I'd say I did a CMA yesterday, or I did a couple, but Oak Harbor, there seems to be triple the amount of inventory. Things instead of 8 days on the market, they may be sitting a little bit longer depending on the product, condition. And then you've got other price points where, yeah, you're going to get 2 or 3 offers on it. So it's strange, and here I'd say like the 1 1 to 1.3 million is moving really, really fast here, but then once you get over like the 1.5 realm, it slows down.
Okay.
And then a lot of our stuff that's like what 600 and under, it's really trashy. I mean, it just needs a lot of work. And so those ones, really, they do sit longer because it takes the right person to come in and do, a fixer-upper on it. So.
Yeah. Are you having sellers starting to get like a little bit concerned, like maybe they missed the window and panicking?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm having to talk them off the ledge of like telling them that it used to take me 6 months to sell a house back in the day, sure. And that 30 days isn't so bad, It's like, they're listening to the media all the time after, even just sitting 3 to 5 days, they start to freak out. Yeah. Like, why have we had an offer? What's wrong? Why isn't somebody just bringing me an offer? Yeah. And I said, the buyer doesn't know how to negotiate anymore. The buyer lost, and now we're having to re-educate and retrain,
Yeah. I think that's the piece. And like anything, it's the shift just happened really fast, right? It's all of a sudden rates moved a lot. So, but like I've had buyers call me and say, hey, this house has been on for a week. What's wrong with it? I go, nothing. It's just normal. It's just not what it was the last 2 years. But so I think it's just kind of, again, retraining. Like, guys, that's a good thing, from a buyer's perspective, to say, hey, you can go make a little more of a normal offer. But, it's just, I think anytime there's that transition, it's just getting them retrained is a great way to say it, is okay, hey, it's a little bit different world. We just got to refocus the expectations.
Different conversations, re-education, all that good stuff. So,
yep.
Absolutely. So what are your hot programs right now? We can't wait to hear about it.
Sure. I mean, honestly, so a lot of what we're doing is like our same as cash or bridge. So like a perfect example on Wilson, I know we just worked on that one. So, similar to what we talked on prior for you guys, but just, being able to go in there and say like, it's 2 kind of benefits. So one in their guys' case is it lets them, I mean, technically they don't qualify with both houses, right? So they would have to normally make a contingent offer, which, maybe the market's shifting a little bit, but there's still going to be a ton of properties where that's just not going to let us go in there and win it. So like in this case, we're saying, hey, we'll privately fund it up front cash. So one, we could make a little more aggressive offer with a tighter time frame to close, no need for an appraisal up front. So like a cash deal. But the other big piece for the Wilsons was since we're privately funding it, we know they're going to sell their house, but that way they can qualify for 2 homes at once, where normally they wouldn't. And then as soon as they sell their house, they're going to do a pay down of the new mortgage, that kind of the cash deal. And then I just flip them into a standard 30-year fixed. So
do they have to pay again for the 30-year fixed?
They do. Yeah. Okay. So kind of how I explain it to these guys is saying, hey guys, we have our normal costs. So either way, if we can just do a 30-year fixed up front or any product they want, you have those loan fees. So like some people would pay that on a purchase, or in the Wilson's case, they'll pay that on the refi. So those are kind of one and the same to say, hey, your final 30-year fixed loan. But then the additional cost is the cash program. So that's kind of the benefit for them. So like in their case, I think their loan ended up being 971 price. So it was about a 728 loan. So there's a 2% cost. So it's about 14,500 for the luxury of the bridge loan, or the same as cash in this one. So I think the two options or two benefits to say, hey, would it be willing for them to pay that is, one, can I win the deal because I'm writing it, as quick as a 10-day close, no appraisal, no contingencies, or like in their case, it just gives them the ability to write non-contingent versus contingent. So I think theirs is, hey, I could have tried to get mine under contract, or I could have tried to sell ahead of time, but it would have been tight to have to go find a temporary rental and all the above. So it's just worth it to them to say, hey, I can make an offer and not have to do the sale ahead of time or try to make it contingent.
So is there, how much equity do they have to have in their house in order to do this program?
So typically how we look at it is we want to be somewhere around 70 to 75% between the two properties. So like when I looked at theirs, is we say, okay, the new house is, 971, the current house, I forget, maybe 900 or so. And we say, okay, what's the total value between the two properties? And then we look at trying to lend somewhere up to 70 to 75% between the two. So I would say, okay, the total value times 75% minus what they currently owe would give me how much capacity could I have for the new house.
So how are you figuring value? Because you guys aren't doing appraisals.
Yeah, so really we're going off the sales price, and then like normally like on the current house, we would look at like either an AVM from our side or like your guys' CMA.
Okay.
So we're being pretty lean, and that's kind of why we're sticking 70, 75 and saying, hey, we don't want to have them go through a formal appraisal. And granted, if we did, we could probably push that loan to value higher, but they're just about to sell the house. You guys have already done a CMA, are going to, why have them pay a whole nother set of fees? So that was
And
kind of
they both have to be, do the clients have to be employed?
how it works is we just want to make sure we have a takeout program. So like I've done this for a couple of folks where they say, hey, Brett, I don't need a long-term loan. I just need the bridge until I sell, and then I'm immediately paying it off. So in that case, it's more of an equity base. So I do have a client that was retired, and he's got good assets and stuff, but technically he literally just retired. So we don't have any established income. So it actually would be a trickier loan to do permanent, but he goes, hey, I think he's actually in your neck of the woods. He's like, I'm selling one second home to buy a more expensive second home, but he's going to ultimately just pay it off in full. So we did the same as cash to help him buy first. Then he's going to sell. And instead of doing a permanent 30-year fix, he just pays it off. So in that case, I wouldn't care because we don't need to have a long-term loan.
Okay. Do you fully underwrite them? You're looking at all their assets too?
We do, yeah. So, kind of the main goal of this program is, long as we have a takeout, because for their sake and ours, the private director's money is not meant to be long-term. We normally write it for a 6-month note, and we could always extend if needed. But I just want to say, hey guys, how do we get you into any kind of a permanent status? So if that's, hey, I'm going to sell my current house and pay it off, perfect. So then that way we're going to be pretty dang lenient on guides, because all that really matters is selling his house. Okay. Versus like the Wilsons, I did do a formal approval and all my underwriters are in the branch. So we already have their income docs, their credit score, and say, okay, we know once they sell, they do in fact qualify for the new permanent 30-year fixed. So, temporarily we're over normal guides, and that's why we're doing it private, because they own 2 homes, for a very short period. But we've already underwritten them to say, hey, as soon as they sell, we're fine for the new place.
Okay, so basically it's a 2% fee. You do a 6-month note typically, and then do they pay interest-only payments during that 6 months, or?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, and give me a ballpark. What's the interest rate on the?
It's normally like about 6.99.
6.999. Okay, and then if they don't sell, it would be crazy if they didn't sell in 6 months, but odds are they're going to sell. And so you lien their new property and their existing property. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. So basically how I'll do it, like in this case, we'll do a 75% lien on the new house, and then about 25% second mortgage, on the current one to be able to do it. So like for the Wilsons, other than their earnest money, they're not bringing any cash to the table. Now, once they sell, I know they plan on putting a bunch more into it, but up front, there's no cash from their side.
So then the purchase home that you have the lien against isn't a fixed loan until actually they pay off part of the difference from the house that they sell. Is that correct?
So
then you do refi on it?
It's the interest only 6.99% loan that is fixed on the new one until we refi. Now our goal for a lot of my clients, they might not need to sell. So some of these guys use it just the cash aspect of it to close 10 days, no appraisal. And like I have 3 or 4 where literally I close it the very next day we start the refi. So they have that 6.99 for like under maybe 3 weeks. So they never even make a payment on it. So, but it's their thing was, hey, we used it in this case just so we can make an all cash style offer and close in 10 days. So the Wilsons is a little bit different where theirs is more of, hey, we wanted the cash aspect, but the bigger piece for them is not having the right contingent. So I kind of use it for 2 different types of clients.
And where are you allowed to lend? What states?
Washington, Oregon, Idaho, California, Arizona, and Montana. It's kind of northwest, I guess, in some south. So
that is quite a few places. That's great to hear. Because what's so nice about that is if you get a seller that's selling here and they're moving in one of those states, this is so perfect to use. I've had 2 of them because we have a lot of retirees here that don't have income, but they have, a $2 million house that's their whole asset, So, I mean, this program works so good for that. And then I just recently, and I got to check into this, God, and I don't know the whole scenario behind this client because it was not my client. It was another agent's client, but they didn't have income either. And they were able to do kind of a tricky loan to get into a house as well. And I got to get more of the details on it. But I love this because for retirees, this works great. And this really, because there's a lot of people that have to get the money out of their house right now. That's what I'm finding, So is this your bread and butter, Brett, this loan or just
honestly, I'd say normal mortgages. I mean, my main stuff's just Fannie, Freddie, FHA, VA. I mean, we do USDA, jumbos, just good old fashioned loans. But kind of what we want to try to do is how can we be more than just that? To say, okay, it is a tough market. What things can we add in? So like bridge loans, we've done forever to say, hey, for a lot of guys, to your point, Kelly, they got so much equity in their house. They just don't have a lot of cash. I mean, just natural Americans don't have cash. It's like, hey, I got to sell first. Well, no, I can do a bridge. So that was my first kind of specialty one we really brought out. And then in the last April, we did the same as cash. And that was more just, hey, you have these great buyers doing 20, 30, 40% down and they're still losing. So like, okay, what can we do to make it even better? So those are a couple of the specialty ones, probably my 2 biggest ones in the last, few years, just because the market demands it.
What's the difference between the same as cash and a bridge loan?
So I guess really the same as cash would be I'm actually doing the loan on the new house, right? So where it's saying, okay, for the new house, I'm doing it and you could close as quick as 10 days, no appraisal, no contingency. So kind of in theory, making my offer like cash. Now the bridge loan is just the second mortgage on their current house, concurrent with the first. So sometimes I do a same in cash and bridge combo. So like for the Wilsons, we're doing both. I'm doing a bridge on their current house to get the money to put down on the same as cash for the new house.
Crazy.
Oh, I see.
And then, but other times I'll have a client where they say, hey, I'm just going to make a good old fashioned regular offer. Maybe we could still close in like 18, 19 days on a normal offer, rush the appraisal, but they need money. So I might say, well, let's do a regular 30-year fixed or a regular ARM, 19, 20-day close, but do a bridge on their current house to get the 20, 30% out. So sometimes we do just a bridge, which is cheaper than the same as cash, but other times we would do a bridge and a same as cash. Or finally, sometimes I'll do just the same as cash because the client's got the 20 to 30% down. They just can't win unless they go cash. So I kind of put them all together however we want.
Right. So then just so I clearly understand this, so then you're basically doing 3 loans. If you do the bridge, the same as cash, and then you do a refinance to move them into a 30-year after they close.
Correct.
Now, those are money makers for you, huh?
Those are good. It's cool. I mean, honestly, my CEO jokes, he goes, hey, Brett, how can you have clients do 2 loans in a row with you and absolutely love you for it? So we joke about it. But it's like, it's just a necessity. And then I think a lot of clients look and say, hey, I could sell first, but then like, do I got to move the whole family into temporary? Then I got to find a rental and they go, by the time I do all that, 1, it's a pain in the butt. Two, I'm probably paying just about the same amount of money. So
I know.
they love the
Yep.
bridge aspect. So it honestly is kind of a perfect win-win. I think the big thing is it's just our own capital. So like a lot of groups, you don't have a lot of lending sources that will do this. So it's like for us, me and the CEO kind of put some money aside ourselves and say, hey, we feel passionate about this. So I think that's the challenge is there's, not a lot of sources for it. So it's just got to be privately funded. So it's literally our own money, but that helps us to not have a lot of goofy guides or restrictions with it. We can move pretty fast.
And then you sell on the secondary market as soon as you guys close.
Exactly. So like these loans, like a bridge or same as cash, we're going to hold it, of course. But as soon as we do, yes. Now we're servicing maybe about 10%, so pretty small. So we're working to build up that servicing pool. But most of our long-term 30-year fixed or ARM type products are going to be delivered in the secondary market right after closing.
Are you doing many ARMs right now? What are you seeing with the ARM market?
We're starting to see a big shift there because, when the fixed rates were so low, why not take a fixed in the threes? But now that stuff's up, like I had a client yesterday and they were maybe like $1 million loan. It was like a full 0.5% lower from a fixed to an ARM. So for them, they're like, hey, I'm comfortable with a 7-year ARM. It's a 0.5 point lower on $1 million. So, more clients I think are opening to that. And I always give them all the options. But I think a lot of clients realize, do they really keep a house and the same mortgage for 30 years? Pretty unlikely, right? And I never want someone to feel uncomfortable, but a lot of guys go, no, if I got 10 years fixed and I got a cheaper payment, I'm totally fine with that. Or 7 years. So we're seeing more and more, and I'd say it's more on the jumbo side because, a 0.5% spread doesn't make a huge difference on $200,000, but on $1 million, it starts adding up to more cash from a monthly basis. So that's where we're seeing more and more clients go that route.
So what does the bridge loan cost to do?
2%. So anything private is just 2%.
Okay, 2%. And then is the bridge rate similar to the same as cash?
The bridge is a little bit higher. I think it's more like 8%, only because it's typically a second lien position, because they have their mortgage and we're doing that second lien position.
Okay. And then the bridge, is it a 6-month note or when is it due?
It's 6 months. So, and I'd say honestly, for most of my clients, they typically, we don't fund the bridge until the closing of the new house. So like, I'm not sure for the Wilsons, like how soon we plan to list theirs, but like if we list their house now and we're not closing until the 8th of June, their current house may already be pretty close to closing. So I've had bridge loans that last sometimes a week, or 3 weeks. So they're typically pretty short-lived because most clients choose to list right away. But I've had some clients where you guys might have an older couple to say, hey, we got to get them out, get the 5 dogs out, get the crap out, do a mini remodel, and then we can list it. So that's why we wanted to have a 6-month note to say in some cases, it makes sense to have a little leeway, be able to kind of prep that house once the sellers are out, then go live.
Do you guys have any rehab loans?
So I don't do a lot of rehab loans, but kind of what we have is just our portfolio division. So like, the portfolio division is more of like throw something at us. So like I had a house the other day and there was a little bit of mold in the basement, right? And the listing agent had put on there, like, it made it seem like you're going to walk in there and die in 2 seconds, right? So it was like, it was like it just was, and the guy goes, I walked in there, yes, there's a little bit of mold, but it was like so crazy that no appraisers would go out there. No one would do anything because they were all like deathly scared. And I understand disclosing something, but it just was interesting. So I go, hey, we'll just do a private portfolio loan, close it. The guy went in there, fixed it. 30 days later, I sent in an appraiser. We flipped him into a 30-year fixed. I had another couple where they own a construction company. And, a lot of times for self-employment, you need 2 years tax returns. Well, they have 1 year self-employed. I said, guys, I just don't have a program for you, but it makes sense. So I'll fund it for you. We'll give you a 1 year note in this case. And then January, they're going to follow up do their new taxes. And then we'll flip them to a 30-year fixed. So, those are more kind of specialty type things to say, if something makes sense, why would we not do it? So.
Before. Damn, I wish I would have known about that one before. All these guys could have bought a house in 1 year.
Yeah.
Actually, Julie, you might be able to do something like this.
But so that's kind of where, so rehab, construction, that I don't, that's not maybe what we were really trying to go after. That being said, if you have a deal that, hey, Brett, it makes sense, what can we do? We've done a little bit of land lending. So, just more of a one size fits all kind of thing with the portfolio to say, okay, where is it based? So it's kind of typically equity based. If we're somewhere in the 20 to 30% equity between multiple properties with the down, we're willing to bend guides like that to say, hey, we can do a private note, wait till next year, refi out. And just like the other loans, my biggest goal is for, the client's sake and ours is we don't want you stuck in a portfolio loan long term because the rates aren't great. But if we have an exit strategy, that's the idea behind it. So
That's cool to hear.
That's really
Really
cool.
cool to hear.
Yeah.
I know. So when your client tells you they want a job,
Yeah. we do that, or I do a lot of holdbacks, and I can do that on regular loans. So like if say we do a FHA or VA or jumbo, and the appraisal came back with one or two goofy items, if the seller's unable to fix it in time or do it, we could just do a holdback. So that's something I do a lot. So we have quite a bit of flexibility, and that's kind of our vision is, hey, don't want to be crazy, but when things make sense, how do we just find a way to get it done? And that's probably the biggest kind of offering we want to have to our partners or clients is, not being so strict to just the general Fannie guides. What things can we do on top of, normal secondary market guides to fill the gap?
I love it. Love it. Any other programs we should know about that are kind of unique? Just when we're out there on the streets and we hear people saying certain things.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Let's see. So, those are the main ones for us. But
Trailer parks?
What'd you say? Sorry.
Trailer parks?
Trailer parks. I don't have those myself. I got a great commercial guy though. So like on commercial stuff. So is this someone buying in a trailer park?
Yeah, like a crappy little home in a trailer park.
Gotcha. Yeah. The one group I might recommend is I think like Sound Community Credit Union, I want to say, would do some manufacturers in a park. Because that one's tough because of course you don't own the land. It's almost a little more like you're buying just an RV in a sense, right? Since you don't own the land, but I think they are a group that would do some there.
Where are they out of?
Somewhere around here, to be honest. I just remember over the years, I had a couple, like a single wide, a couple, we do manufacturers, but there's a few rules, you have to meet these guides, and they were willing to do some stuff that didn't meet the normal manufactured guides. But I think our big ones, honestly, same as cash and bridge are my big ones. The holdback's more of just fixing a problem, right? If something pops up in the appraisal, or you find a house. I've had clients, sometimes you'll get that agent that lists it says rehab only, and they won't take a normal offer, but you go through and say, well, actually, it is livable. It's beat up. There might be one or two small things called out. Let's maybe do a regular loan and just do a holdback, because that's way better than going through the whole rehab. So I've used that before. The portfolio loans we use a lot, just those one-offs. You get a weird deal and say, hey, the client can't get approved because this or that, but they're going to get a new job soon, or whatever the situation may be. We could look at those. That's probably most of the specialty things that we're doing. And then just everything else is just the good old fashioned loans and, all the underwriting's in the branch. So my vision say, get it fully underwritten up front, peace of mind. Then I'd say like our regular deals we can close somewhere around 18, 19 days, and then if we do same as cash, it can be 9 or 10 days is the fastest. So, trying to kind of streamline those things up for us. So
what's your down payment on a portfolio? Is it like you can't do like a VA portfolio or anything? It's just all conventional, certain percentage down?
Typically, so normally the portfolio, I'd say most is going to be 20% down. And it's really just because from the portfolio side, it's just saying, okay, hey, we're going to, do something that doesn't meet standard guides. So, hey, the offset to that or the collateral kind of benefit would be, hey, we have an equity position in it. So, that can be tricky to say, hey, you get somebody that doesn't have, much down payment, like a zero down guy. I don't have a lot of portfolio options for that, but, we're always happy to look at anything and say, hey guys, here's the tactic, or here's what we need to work on to get you there. So that's kind of my biggest vision with anyone we pre-approve is, hey, if I can't get you approved today, I'm going to get you on a really clean, plan of how do we get you there and what's a realistic timeline.
So typically with these pre-approvals on these same as cash and bridge loans,
Yep.
How long does it take for you to determine whether or not you'll lend to them?
My goal is 24 to 48 hours.
Okay.
So I have, and I can always do a rush. If you get a guy, unfortunately, we all tell clients to do stuff up front and they find that house on a Saturday and need a rush. And we understand that. But I have 2 underwriters that work for just me, and all they do is pre-approvals. Because I found that, again, underwriting's busy. It's hard for them to put aside a real file to do a pre-approval. It's like, okay, easy solution. I'll hire 2 separate underwriters. All they do is pre-approval. So, I want it to be fast, but I want it to be like legitimately approved. So they're doing like fraud guard reports. All those little BS things that I'm sure you guys have experienced, like, hey, last minute, this thing popped up at the end. So I have them do every single thing you can think of up front so that the only thing left is collateral, the appraisal or the title issues, which we don't even have an appraisal on the same as cash, but That way we know really good we're never going to get somebody in the position of making an offer or doing a private loan and not be able to put them in a perm loan.
So I guess when we're writing an offer, this is the same as cash program, what would we call this? Because technically the problem is most agents have never heard of this, right? So, I mean, when I got your first pre-approval, I was like, what the hell is this? Is it a scam? I needed to talk to somebody.
Sure.
So on the purchase and sale agreement on the 22A, when we write offers, it's usually conventional 20%, VA, 0 down. So what would we put on there? Because technically
22EF.
it's a loan. Oh,
And there's a loan box.
and that's what we put,
That's
check?
same as cash, Brett Burns, record mortgage.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. I
Okay.
guess that's easy.
And then kind of like yours, Kelly, is I try to really hard to reach out right away because you're right, it is unique, but it's like, normally jokingly I talk to the agent and go, hey, that sounds cool. Can I use it too? Right. So, it's been a fun one to call, but I think it needs the explaining. So, I love to help. And just as, they were saying, that's how they normally write it, the 22EF. But I love, of course, making a call on any offer, but especially a cash one, just to help explain, hey, here's really how it works so that they know it's not like scammy or something goofy.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks for all the tips today. Super helpful. Anybody else have questions or anything?
Very helpful.
Yeah. Thanks, Brett.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for your time. It's always nice to have those tools in our toolbox because there's a lot of people that can help. So.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate the referrals. It's been great, Jay, working with you on this deal. I'm pumped for him. I know it took a while to get him out.
Yeah.
It pays off. So, but I recorded this too, so I'll figure out how to shoot over a copy of it for you guys. But anytime I can answer questions or jump on a call, I'd love to help.
Awesome. Thank you, Brett.
Thanks, guys.
Good morning.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.